Hi everyone, welcome to this strategy session. I am Abhinav, and today I have a very special guest with me and a very dear friend of mine, Gaurav, who is an IPS officer. So I would like to welcome Gaurav to this particular session.
Hi, good evening.
Hi
Hello,
Gaurav,
Abhishek.
thank you for giving your time to us. Thank you for being over here.
Thank you.
So, friends, Gaurav is an IPS officer right now, and in this particular discussion, in this particular session, we're going to discuss strategy with respect to the civil services examination. So, be it prelims, mains, or interview, several questions would be asked. Even you can ask your questions to Gaurav, and we will take up those questions at the end of the session. So, welcome, Gaurav. Let's start with the discussion. Let's start with the strategy session today, as of now. So, Gaurav, can we start with your background and your UPSC journey? How has been your experience with respect to UPSC?
My journey has been very long. So I started my give a brief background. I am from Nasik. I am a computer engineer by profession. I've done my engineering from City Institute Pune, and then after I started my preparation. So while I was also working from 2017 to 2020, so I also did my graduation in public administration from IGNU, Indira Gandhi National Open University, and I
Okay.
was also as I also started giving attempts like prelims attempts. I never cleared them, but I was continuously giving them, and I also prepared my masters just to ensure that I stay in touch with my optional subject during while I was working. And during 2020, I quit my job and I started my full time preparation. And the day I cleared my UPSC Civil Services in 2022, which was my fourth attempt. And
Okay.
so that was.
Yeah. So, Gaurav, like everyone would ask that what are the challenges you face during the services or during the preparation? I would ask you, what is the best thing that you felt about this particular preparation? What attracted you towards this preparation, towards this service?
So honestly, not with respect to the service, but the preparation phase, actually, the process. The process is very important because it really turns it you into a responsible person. So like while you start your preparation, it's not only about the knowledge and the content that you get into the process, but how your character or your behavior changes, how you start managing your time, your money, and your relations as well, with the family members, be it your friends, be it everyone in that circle with whom you are learning together, the friends that you make in the library. Actually, the process that is very important, because that makes you how you start respecting things that you have. So that is something the process teaches you. Means I personally, I don't feel that you become officer after you clear UPSC. It's before you just you're just being polished once you get into the civil services. So in the training they just give you about the briefs of the how the process works of the government. So after that, the entire UPSC process molds you into a responsible person. So that is very important.
Yeah, so basically it makes you a better person, and it's like UPSC chooses the officers. Like you don't become an officer after you give the examination. It's like
Yeah.
UPSC chooses who is actually the officer in that preparation phase. Are you really disciplined and all those kind of things, right?
Yes, very
So,
true.
Gaurav, anyway, like each one of us who are giving this examination, who have given this examination, we face a lot of challenges. So, what kept you motivated throughout this journey? How did you balance your preparation and your life? As you said that you became a better person. So, how did you balance your life, your preparation, the co-curriculars? What kept you motivated?
Actually, just to be honest, like UPSC was never my choice. Like while I when I became graduate, so my plan was to give GRE and just to go for engineering. But it was my parents actually who insisted to go for civil services. You may fail. They knew that consequences. You may pass, you may fail, but go through that process at least to give your best. So for them,
Right.
I decided that. But before that, I also thought like just to have a backup in case if I don't qualify even after 2 3 attempts. So that fear should not kick in later on. That no, I just wasted my 4 years. So for that reason, although I passed in 2020, I decided to work for 2 to 3 years, and by the time I'll do some savings, so I will also have some work experience. Yeah, so If at all, unfortunately, although that thing didn't happen, if I couldn't clear civil services, I could go back to my parent domain and start working again. So that was the thing.
Right.
So that fear always has to be there. And second thing is to always have a backup. Backup should not become your primary objective. It has to be secondary only, but make sure you at least dedicate some time to have a backup plan. You shouldn't invest too much into it, but always having a backup will always help you. So after that, while I was working, I gave so attempts like 2018 and I guess 2020 I gave my, and 21 I gave my three attempts, and I performed very bad. So my score was less than 52 in prelims, and
Okay.
uh, and it was very less, and I was and that was the point when fear started to kick in, and I didn't knew what to do. So I again decided to go back into my IT industry. I worked only for 6 months, and then I quit my job again. So that was my plan. And then in that process, what kept me going was the motivation of that fear that you will lose something. So that is something, what are you sacrificing against what are you achieving? So I started in my preparation phase. Hello, am I
Yeah.
audible?
So basically, you're saying that it is very important to have a plan B, and the fear of losing out on something is one of the biggest motivation that one can have to do their preparation in a very serious manner. So I think it's a very important lesson for all those listeners who are listening to us, that you need to have a plan B in your mind, and just keep giving better and better, keep giving your best to this particular preparation. Someday or the other you will definitely either clear the examination, or you would definitely have something else to lie back
Yes.
on. Yeah, so that's a very good advice. Even for the listeners who are listening to us, they can put their questions in the comment section. We will address all those questions at the end of this particular session. So, Gaurav, moving on, once you enter into this particular preparation, we see that students, the first important stress that the students start facing is with respect to the overwhelming syllabus. The syllabus is really huge, a lot of papers, 7 to 9 papers to cover. So, what would you suggest to a beginner who is starting the preparation? What kind of mindset, what kind of planning he or she should have, so that this stress of syllabus should not come in? So how should he manage this particular thing?
Uh, yes. So, when I started my preparation, so first thing that went, because first thing is to go by planning. As you have rightly said, like if you're not planning, you're planning to fail. So that is what we have always heard.
Right.
So first thing is, if you are preparing for any exam, be it in everything, be it GMAT, GRE, MBA, everything. First thing is to identify the syllabus. Why? What is the syllabus? And like everyone knows that the UPSC syllabus is very vast. It's like everything under the sun. So the first thing is to identify the syllabus, but one should not get scared of that. Second thing is identify what exactly UPSC is targeting each and every year. So many of them, I don't know what happens is, usually when we just go through the syllabus and we start reading the material, so there is lot of material and we get confused. So first thing is, before starting any exam, although the syllabus is very vast, let's say 100%, only 30 to 40% is what UPSC asks each and every year. So there is a pattern in it. So my suggestion is to go for the last 10 years question paper, both for prelims, mains, and whatever content you have. So just review that and start jotting out the points. So you will find a pattern in it, that every year, for example, you will have one question on fundamental rights, one question on DPSB, on center state relations. So just categorize the content, like what are the basic questions, and that analysis you'll find in any of the PYQ book. So only thing is, you have to go by the questions, that what type of questions is in, identify them. If there is a lot of repetition, start complete those chapters on priority. And just that doesn't mean you have to leave the other topics. The rest, for 60% you have to complete it, but your target should be those, that 40%.
Right, right. So it's like you have to find out those areas in the syllabus which are more frequently asked in the examination, and that can only be done by doing the PYQ analysis. So how many years
Yes.
of PYQ analysis do you suggest that the students should do it?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Am I audible, Gaurav? So I
Yes,
was
yes, yes,
asking that,
I can hear.
yeah, so you said that PYQ analysis, by doing the PYQ analysis, we need to find out those 30 to 40% of the questions which are getting repeated again and again, right? So I was asking ki how many years of PYQ analysis should a student do with respect to it, to find out the
Oh,
theme, to find out the repetitions, to find out the real psychology behind UPSC.
so if you see, like UPSC changes the trend every 4 5 years, but I'll suggest to, on the safer side, in most cases you should review for prelims at least, and after that, what you can do if you have some more time, at least we know that the pattern has changed after 2023. So you can at least go for less 10 years, and those questions are enough, because even if you review for 10 years into 100 questions, almost 1000 questions will be prepared. So you should identify a pattern, at least not the question. And also you should identify which year why a current affairs question was also asked. So you have to be conscious
Right.
while reviewing, because if for example a question related to election was asked, related to uh, Bharat
In
Ratna or
GS paper
something
2
of
this
that.
year.
Yes, yes, yes. So that part you have to link why that particular year was asked, because somewhere it has been in news. So that thing will help
Correct.
you.
Correct, correct, right. So basically, it's like 10 years of a question paper for prelims and mains. We can analyze and
Yeah,
find out the repetitive themes which are there. What is the motivation behind that asking that particular question? Those things have to be found out, and therefore those opinions, or let's say whatever we get out of the analysis, has to be applied in the present year. That's what
right.
Gaurav is suggesting. So again, it's a very important thing for the students over here. So Gaurav, recently only we had this particular mains examination which just got concluded in September. So what is your take on it? I'm sure you would have gone through the question papers of the mains examination. Do you see a change in the trend, or anything specific, anything special that you want to tell us about the recently held mains examination?
Yes, actually, I've just gone through all the GS means paper. This year, actually, there were many of them very tricky and dynamic. Usually, UPSC has a trend, like they have been following for last 2 3 years. There were very less, hardly one or no question at all from world history. But this year, they have broken the trend, and like almost two question, all 15 marker, I guess around 30 marks. They have asked on colonialism and related to industrial revolution. Also, the
Right.
trend was very much with respect to geography and agriculture, also with respect to economics. So also the type of demand that they were asking, like considering the demand, like comment, critical thinking, background. One of the question also had critically analyze. The ethics question were, if you have seen, like they were very big. So what UPSC wanted to
Exactly.
in this part, what UPSC was trying to find was how you identify the core demand of the question. Because many a time what means happens is we start writing the static content, we miss on to the core demand. And for that reason, although the ethics papers was lengthy, but if people could have done the 10 markers very well, because all the I found out that all the case studies were average only, and everyone writing have written average content. So I've discussed with some of the students as well. But the 10 markers
Right.
in ethics required lot of, because if you see, like two papers, one on mission karma yogi and all were related to administrative part, and they are trying to link it with ethics. So you have to bring that balance in writing that ethics perspective in administration. So that thing
Right.
was very critical, and also it involved lot of current oriented answers as well. Going on to optional, there are like very much opinion, but I've just, since public administration was my part, I've seen like the paper one was very tricky, but the paper two was static, plain, but it was lengthy, means as in the demands were multiple in a 10 marker or a 20 marker. So overall I think UPSC was very not, the question difficulty was moderate, but it tested the current part very much. Also the, I think is like UPSC know that everyone have enough content available in the market. So now what they
Right.
are trying to do is they are trying to bring out the analytical part, because lot of material is available. Now what UPSC want is, okay, this is the question, not write it analytically. Just writing
Hmm.
the same old questions won't suffice. What you need is more current relation, how you justify each point. Also the number of points students were writing this year, like around 7 to 8 points was average. So that thing has changed a lot from earlier exams. Like earlier, for a 10 marker, 5 to 6 was enough, but that won't help this time.
Right, right. So basically, what you're saying is that this particular year, first of all, we see a lot of inclination towards current affairs, in especially even in the even in papers like GS4. Even in GS4, we saw AI-based questions, administrative-based questions coming in GS4. And what you're saying is that world history again is making a comeback after a very long year. So we had a drought year of world history. So now this year we have questions from world history as well, and certain questions from geography and agriculture, these were like slightly tricky to answer. Right, so I will just pick up one point over here, and I would like to ask you, and which is a doubt in so many students mind, that how to prepare current affairs, as in how to there are so many sources available, how to integrate the newspapers, the magazine with your current, with your preparation of the static portion. So what was your overall strategy with respect to current affairs preparation?
Uh, when I actually when current affairs is has a very big role to play in your prelims specifically, and mains as well, actually in interview as well. But the major part, the static or the content that you require is more of the factual part. In prelims it is very important. And when I started my preparation, actually one thing I missed out was on reading newspaper, because I was working, I used to get very less time. But I would suggest that if there are many of the foundation students in Vajiram, or in any other batch, so if you have time, or if you're attempting for next year's prelims, so this period, like October to December, start reading newspaper. So only thing that will help you is to identify how to read between the lines. So many of the times the questions that they ask, how the questions are framed, because overall later on when you start giving a test series, you'll identify that many of the content that you were reading from any of the current affair magazine was already present, because you had read somewhere in the newspaper. And the
Right.
crux actually what matters. And what happened, what worked during my times was, if the prelims is around May, so at least previous 5 years current affairs are very important, and which you'll find
Okay.
in any of the magazines. And so usually what happens is, every year I guess Vajiram brings out the prelims probable. I don't know if
Correct,
many
correct.
of people are reading it. From last two
Yes.
years I was reading that. So that helped me, because it was a big compilation. But say if I was reading through newspaper, I just supplemented it with one magazine, and that prelims
Okay.
probable helped me. And also during the prelims and mains phase, although the current affairs are not that recent, but what you can do is at least identify the editorials in the Vajiram magazine, the recitals. Actually, there are the first 20 pages are the editorials usually, and
Yeah.
those are some detailed analysis. So just read out of them, and by the time the means, if you are clearing prelims and you are preparing for means, Vajiram brings out another, the mean probables. Actually, this
Right,
year I
right.
changed my approach a bit different, just to read out. And I that helped me during that time. The means probables was a short around 100 words or 200 words, and just identify the key words that you have to mention in the answers. And those are very concise, to the point, and that helps a lot. So and the another thing is, while giving test, try to give more and more test if you have issues in current affairs. Because what happens is, uh, you, what when you start giving answers, or you start writing answers both for prelims and means, the fear plays a major factor in elimination of options. What happens is, when people don't give much of the test series and they suddenly go there and start attempting questions, that should not happen. You should
Right.
play with the environment. So start, use your time watch, go to test center, sit there, and start giving paper. So
Correct,
that
correct.
helps you to analyze your behavior. So even though it's a new environment, your school is you get usually you get a lot of government school. So when you go there, you should be relaxed. इट शुड बी अ नॉर्मल कि हाँ चलो आज एक जस्ट एक मॉक देने जा रहे हैं, तो वहां जाके आप बैठो आराम से. यू शुड बी काम, यू शुड बी कंपोज्ड. एंड फॉर दैट रीजन टेस्ट सीरीज आर देयर. टेस्ट सीरीज नॉट जस्ट टू टेस्ट योर नॉलेज, इट मेक्स यू फ्रेंडली विद द एनवायरमेंट एज वेल. सो ऑल्दो नॉलेज आपको कहीं ना कहीं से मिलता है, तो करंट अफेयर्स के लिए मेरा वही है कि बिना पढ़े कभी कभी जाके टेस्ट सीरीज भी देना चाहिए. If you go without reading, you know that you don't have the knowledge, but you have to solve the question. somewhere that attitude, because then you start know ki acha I don't know the options, but I'll try to eliminate as much as I know, and that will help you gain 5 to 10 questions right. Yeah.
Right. So basically, real time, we have to test us in the real time, going to the test center, not like just sitting at home and attempting the paper in our comfortable environment. That is one thing which you are suggesting. And what you're suggesting is that we have to supplement our newspaper reading with these monthly and yearly
Magazine.
magazines, right, at the end of the preparation. So that there is a comprehensive coverage of everything throughout the particular year. And also, a very important point for the students is that. It's not just the current affairs of the last 1 year which is important, but the current affairs, it's like contemporary affairs which is becoming important, maybe for the last 4 or 5 years. That's what Gaurav is suggesting. So yeah, thank you, Gaurav, for very good suggestions over here. So can I say that a student has to read the newspapers daily and then supplement it with the monthly and yearly compilations? So if in case he or she is doing this, how much time they should give to the newspaper reading? If they're reading the monthly magazines at the end of the month, so how should they manage their newspapers daily? What was your strategy?
Yes. So actually, I had discussion with 2 3 students actually who had just keep messaging say sir, मैंने शुरू में magazines नहीं पढ़े and I haven't read lot of magazines and now a lot of them are pending for last 4 5 months and what should I do now? Should I go for monthly and all? So my suggestion is
Correct.
since up till November you are free, you are not working full time on prelims and mains. So what you can do is you can dedicate 1 to 2 hours for newspaper, or you can just divide it like 1 hour for one newspaper and 1 hour for a magazine, monthly magazine. In case what happens is if you miss on some points in newspaper, you can cover it through magazine, or the other way around. But what it will happen is you will holistically cover the major current affairs. I won't say all of them, but major part of it. And as and when you starts with the prelims, now your priority should change. At least 2 to 3 hours you should dedicate on current, because current affairs also play a major role of at least 20 to 30 marks, and that could create a big difference. Because that thing worked for me, because as I said, like in my earlier 3 attempts, I was performing very bad, almost 50 to 60 marks was there. But the year I cleared my prelims first time, so I had focused a lot on newspaper as well as current affairs magazine. So what that helped is, and what that helped me in was all my marks almost doubled. So the year I cleared my prelims, my score was around 113 or 114. So it was all more than double. So that thing helped me, and that helped me also clear my forest cutoff, so which is very rare for me. And it was a very good score, I think, in my opinion. So current affairs should not miss out on. But as and when you approach prelims, at least 3 to 4 hours has to be current affairs. But you can't dedicate much time reading just newspaper. You reduce the part, like by the time you start reading for prelims, you know that how to read a newspaper. One gets a basic idea. So he should reduce his time for just half an hour, read just important editorials or the important news, and he should dedicate 3 to 4 hours through magazine or some test papers. So you'll find a lot of test papers in the market or the institutes. You can just approach and give some current affairs test series if that is available. So that will help you identify what are the trending questions currently. Because one thing is, like, although you are joining any institute's test series, they are also working and doing some research before framing any question. So that question
Right.
may or may not come. So actually that thing happened because last year the year I cleared my prelims, I was giving lot of test series, and many of won't even believe that the next Sunday is the prelims, and the Thursday or Friday I went for an open mock test, and the very first question that was asked there was greenwashing. And
Right.
from January to May, almost none of the test series covered that question on greenwashing, and I was so blank and confused. I did that question wrong, but the moment I exited my test center, I went out, I read the entire solution, and I read, and the uh, I think it was I was a bit lucky. Sunday morning, means just a day after actual test center I went there, I went there. I think second or third question was on greenwashing, and I just
Nice.
thank God that I got that question right. So this is how things work. So
Right.
also
Right.
the another question was on grammar as well. I still remember the question because I've made all those questions wrong. So giving test series helps you. and how much time the current affairs plays in, because current affairs depend on static part. I couldn't have got that edge of 20-30 marks, but static is also important. But current, you should dedicate a time of 3 to 4 hours after December. Usually people start around mid Jan, but I would suggest, considering the current trend of UPSC, January is an ideal point of at least 3 to 4 years for the first timers who are appearing for the first time or second time, or who are not able to clear prelims in their 2 to 3 attempts. Yeah.
Okay, so what you said is really interesting, Gaurav. That first of all, your marks almost doubled because you went in for the current affairs preparation. And second is that by giving test series, you got those questions as well in the examinations, which were not covered somewhere else. So basically,
Yes.
current affairs preparation has really helped in improving your marks to the extent that you also cleared the forestry prelims cutoff as
Uh,
well, which is almost
yes,
like
right.
15-20 marks higher than the civil services cutoff. That's a great insight for the students. And one more thing which I got from your answer was that you have to phase down your newspaper reading throughout your preparation. As in the start, you have to give more time to the newspapers,
More
but
time.
once you enter into the prelims phase, uh, you can tone down your newspaper timing which you're giving to the newspapers and rely more on the magazines and then go ahead with the preparation. So is that the crux of whatever you have addressed?
Uh, yes, but I would also like to mention, like, because in the mains, the you have to cover a lot of subjects, almost 18 to 20 subjects. You have to cover them. So that's why I'm
Right.
saying you have to cut down on the newspaper time, because you
Hmm.
will, it is a good time. Also, it helps you divert your mind, because you are reading all entire day, 8, 8, 9, 9 hours.
Right, right.
Like it's a like calm period. You can just go and read about some random content. So but
Right.
again, once you have cleared beans now, for example, once the mains result are out and people have started reading for interview, I would again suggest to start reading newspaper and give more time, at least 4 to 5 hours, and at least go for 3 4 newspapers for those preparing for interview, because I did the same thing and it helped me. Because
Right.
you have to ensure that proportionally time on priorities, you have to ensure that how much time you have to allocate to what. Because for example, if you're studying for prelims, uh, 3 to 4 hours has to be for current affairs, 5 to 6 hours has to be for static part. And at the end of the day, you don't have to read anything, just open a pyq book and just go for last 10 years questions, just review them, that why the question was asked. Do you know that thing? If you don't know, just try to attempt that question. And you have to do this practice for entire period of the prelim study, like from January to March, April. So what happens is, you complete at least 3 to 4 iterations of pyqs, and those questions are in your mind. And every year at least 4 to 5 questions are pyqs, and they are repeating, like money
Right.
multiplier, be it any other thing on economics. So that things
Yeah.
will help you at least to guarantee that 10 15 to 20 marks are in my hand. So yeah.
Correct, correct. So PYQs, current affairs are definitely something that we need to follow. So coming on to the next theme of the today's strategy session, Gaurav. So answer writing is a buzzword, and in fact, you also mentioned that this year's mains examination was pretty tricky in terms of writing answers. Different types of questions were asked. So can you just give insight as to what is the importance of answer writing in the preparation phase, and what was your strategy with respect to answer writing throughout your journey?
Yes, like coming to the means part and the answer writing, what went wrong in my earlier attempts, and what the year I cleared was, I had done very less answer writing. I used to hardly write 3 4 questions, that too in my free time, in my room, whenever it's free under the fan, everything, AC is on and all. What happens is, you don't do a lot of brainstorming in that part. You're just
Hmm.
writing things won't help. What you have to do is, you have to sit consciously, identify the topic, adopt an IBC approach, that is introduction, body, conclusion. What should be the
Yeah.
intro, what should be the body, how you have to. And what happens is, when you are in your home, and you're writing in a lazy way, a 10 marker you may take 10 to 15 minutes even, and still you won't be able to write a good answer. And but what happens in actual means, you have to do it in 6 to 7 minutes, a 10 marker, and a 15 marker you have to do it around 10 minutes, 10 to 11 minutes. So it's a very cut short time, and you have to, by that time, you have to read the question, you have to identify the keywords, you have to frame a structure, you have to start writing as well. In between, again, you may have to, if it's a geography or any other question, you may have to draw a map, a diagram, or a flow chart. Again, by the time you have to conclude, you have to bring some knowledge or some out of work context. You may have to identify some committee report and all. So such things won't happen directly at the test center. You may have to practice that thing before, and you may have to do it a lot more time. So in 2022, what I did was, during the prelims and mains, I had done a lot of answer writing, almost 26 to 20, almost 34 tests I had given that time. So 10 of my optional subject and 24 or 25, I guess, of my GS. So almost 7 iterations of GS, like GS 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I used to repeat that thing again and again. So in that 3 months period, I did it almost 7 times. So if you do that way, what help is, there won't be any fear, because you have done that thing in the past. You should see that test papers or the UPSC mains as another mock. So you will be very comfortable, you will be very confident that even after 36 questions, if I'm not able to write that answer, I'm 100% sure that none of the other student would be able to write that. And
Right,
also,
right.
like during that period, July to December, full-time test, daily I used to read Monday to Friday. I'll read on any subject. Like, for example, if I'm reading history, Monday to Friday, modern history. Saturday was my day dedicated to reading. I would just go to the test center, take a test, solve it, and Sunday I used to write the same subjects, mains test series, be it 3 hours or 4 hours. So like my first mains, I all test series in a test center, I took almost 5 hours. I was just writing it. I and it was very bad. I scored almost 72 to 75 marks. I had got in one of the institute test series, and it was very bad. But I went there again and again. So that thing helped is brainstorming it. Why I was getting wrong. So in the next week, when I gave the same test series of modern history, I thought like, Acha, there is always a question of what's the comparison of, for example, Gandhiji with Subhash Chandra Bose, Gandhiji with Jawaharlal Nehru, their approaches. So I knew that
Right.
these are the some repetitive questions, and I knew that my introduction was ready for that part. For
Hmm.
example, if there is PSU, so I would always start my intro that Jawaharlal Nehru has remarked PSUs as temple of modern India, or the creation of modern India. So that was my intro anyhow, whatever is the question, because
Nice.
that thing relates with that thing. And that helped me. And just go, I went on writing. By the time, what happened was, by the time December, I had done a lot of brainstorming, so my content was ready. Now the thing was, my next priority was the time. So once I have cleared my prelims, I focused on writing mains in 3 hours. So my first test, again, I took around 3 hours 30 minutes. I targeted to come to 3 hours 15 minutes. 10. By the time I had written my seventh iteration, I completed all my tests in 3 hours, and I was confident that now I'm very much prepared. I've given a lot of tests. I have enough content. Now my third priority was a decent handwriting, something that is readable, legible, and something that will fetch mark. Because also I got a lot of suggestions by writing. When I started writing, I used to write a lot of short forms or the short abbreviations, like I used to draw ampersand for and all. But I also get some feedback that avoid that thing, and I started writing the full form. So that also helped me, because I've also corrected some of the test paper. I've seen people using a lot of abbreviations. See, the person who is checking that answer might not know that abbreviations. We may directly use CSO for civil services organization or an NGO. So at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
go and write for the first time. You have to just elaborate that thing and then use short forms, so your presentations also improve. So the first thing was the content part, second thing was the time management, third thing was a legible handwriting,
Handwriting.
fourth thing was a presentation and diagrams. And
Right,
while
right.
writing means, what I did was, I identified hello, am I audible?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You are audible, Gaurav. Yes, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
So whenever the question was on IAS coaching, whenever the question is on economics, you should always draw a graph, be it a generic graph. You have to not be specific on the data part. But what thing is, uh, the professor or the person checking that answer, he should know that, seeing that, acha, he is just showing me a trend of a thing, the rise in expenditure or the rise in GDP in agriculture. So that thing you can identify. So it helps you, the person that identify, rather than reading the lines, he'll feel happy that, okay, here the person who is writing the answer has made my work easy. So that will give you at least
Correct.
half an mark extra. And what usually is, so I used to, once used to write my answer, I used to send it to my father, so he used to check that answers. So
Right.
so he's a professor, but he may not be as expert in that subject, but a general answer. So one feedback that I got from also my father is, if a person is reading your answer and then telling you the question, then you have written a nice answer. So that thing
Correct
also has
answer.
to be in your answer writing. So जब आप शुरू शुरू में लिख रहे हो, सॉरी फॉर यूजिंग हिंदी, लाइक आई कैन रिलेट मच, बट
No, it's
वंस
okay.
यू स्टार्ट, हाँ, सो वंस यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग ना, यू विल राइट वेरी बैड आंसर्स. आप बहुत गंदा लिखोगे, बट कीप राइटिंग इट. ओवर द टाइम द कंटेंट एंड द राइटिंग क्वालिटी विल ऑल्सो improve. Things happen is स्टूडेंट नेवर स्टार्ट राइटिंग आंसर्स, दे जस्ट कीप ऑन डिलेइंग कि नहीं, प्रीलिम्स के बाद निकलेंगे, एक बार प्रीलिम्स निकलने दो. बट अगेन व्हाट हैपेंस इज 3 months is a very less time to develop that answer writing skill. You may do that, but for an average person, it becomes a difficult task, because he has to manage all the essay, GS 1 2 3 4 all the topics, and also manage them with answer writing. And each GS has a different style of answer writing, because whenever you are writing a polity questions, your answer intro has to starts with some article. If you're writing an economics or a ethics question, let's say ethics question, you have to always use a quote or some of the ethical definitions. You can't go wrong on the definitions, because for example, empathy, sympathy, and compassion, those are very closely defined definitions. You can't just go and create your own definition in that test paper or the test set. You have to prepare some of the things before. So now is the time, like I'll also suggest, like now is October, like October to December, I've just got lot of queries as well, uh, who have given 2 3 attempts and are not clearing mains. At least go and complete a test series between this period. Go and write answers, be it 4 hours. Answer is not the priority. Your priorities are content. Second thing is your handwriting, your diagrams, because diagrams you can't create at that moment. You will draw some cloud thing, you will draw some flow chart and all that won't help. You have to be some specific diagrams, identify them, enrich your content. For example, it's a 10 marker, go identify, write 10 marks. So be it 4 hours, 5 hours, I was always used to be the last person who used to exit the test center. Remember that. So that thing won't matter. People may name that, no, you are writing it very wrongly. Now is the priority. Once you start writing answers, your priority should change. Your content might get compromised, because for a 10 marker you won't write 7 to 8 exceptional point, but out of that 8 you will recall 5. At least if you are able to recall 5 of them, you will be always have an advantage over others. So that is something.
So
Yeah.
I think listening to your answer, and even the students who are listening to us, they would at least understand one thing, that we start idealizing the toppers. We are like, "Ki, oh, toppers would have been best from the start itself." But listening to your story, it really makes me feel that each and every topper has their own journey. Like even you had
Yes.
50 to 60 marks in your prelims, then even in mains, at the start of it, you were scoring low, but because of persistent effort. So what differentiates a average student from a topper, I think, from your answer, is the persistent effort that you are making, sitting in the test centers, continuously going to the test centers, even writing for 4 5 hours continuously, not thinking about ki whether you're doing it right or wrong. So I think that is a very important lesson which students should derive from this particular thing. And then you said that you wrote 34 35 tests between those 3 months, which is like literally a commendable thing that you have done. You stressed upon the importance of brainstorming the answer, the IBC model. Gaurav, you also talked about this particular thing of feedback, getting the feedback on your mains answer, getting the feedback from your test series. You were part of the Sure Shot test series also. What is your feedback about it? Like, how was your experience with respect to the Sure Shot test series of Vajiram that you joined?
So it was a very nice experience. Although I was writing answers before as well. So, but once I joined the Sure Shot test series, so what helped me was the type of questions that I was getting. It was very difficult questions sometimes, but that also makes you think, and it gives an idea ki acha, UPSC is not going to ask only from the static part or the things you know. Sometimes there are certain questions also that you don't know. For example, I've also seen the question this year. There were like industry, like I almost discussed with like 5 to 6 friends, those who have appeared this year means, like very few had prepared or given weightage on world history, but suddenly the question
Right.
came in. To address
Right.
that type of questions was challenging. And also like when I joined the Vajiram test series, like 2 3 questions on economics were very challenging for me, like the recent reduction in the fiscal expenditure and all. So that part, but those questions were very thoughtful, and they were asking you to like use your mind. You can't just add any random content into it. So that test series helped me to think beyond that, how to bring some advantage. And also while preparing for the test series, the mentorship that I got was like I got some standard templates, like so that can be an added advantage, because in that templates there were some standard introductions, body and conclusion, like Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. There are some keywords that should come into your answers that will give you an edge. Like if you're writing on cooperative sector, so if you, in the conclusion you have just write that Sahakar se Samriddhi, so that keyword can again bring you something like it will give an examiner, no acha, that person is also trying to link the current aspect into the answer. So it is
Correct.
not only a
Mhm.
static question, but you are linking it with something. Also certain question like on national policy on voluntary sector and something of that sort. So that was also provided through the model answer. So my, whenever I
Hmm.
used to study, for example in the sure shot means, when after completing the exam I used to get that model answer, and I used to read that model answer and try to think, Achha, just read that answer and keep it in front of you, like, and compare it with your the answer that you have written. Like, Achha, why I was not able to write the other points which are mentioned in the model answer. The now again three things arise. First thing is you don't know the that points at all. If you don't know, just read it again into that model answer. Just look into the model answer and just jot down those point. Second thing, you know that points, but you are not able to recall in that test during the test. Now the thing is revise that part. First thing is, if you don't know that thing, read it and revise it. Second thing, you know that thing but you are not able to recall it, just revise it. Third thing, it's an completely out of box content, go and study it detailed. So now again my priority is, for the first part I will just allot 5 to 10 minutes per question. If it's a second type of question, I'll just allot 2 to 3 minutes. But the third part, if I don't know the content or the question in entirety, I'll just dedicate 10 to 15 minutes. I'll read it, I'll revise it, and I'll again try to write the same answer. So that will again help you to identify questions, prepare it, because you can't just go and attempting questions. So that's what I said, like as you are going through the process, you have to identify your priorities. Like October to December, just don't think of time, just keep writing. By the time you have cleared prelims, identify the good content. Now you have to
Hmm.
compromise on some part, but you have to also focus on some part. Ki, acha, what are the type
Right.
of questions that can come? And that was helpful during the sure shot means part. And
Right. So what
yes,
you have pointed out is that after giving your test series, after giving your test, you have to go back and analyze the answers that you have written, analyze the feedbacks that you have got, and then categorize the questions, whether you knew it, whether you did not know it, or maybe revision was lacking, or let's say you did not know the content at all. And according to that, prepare your notes again and then revise it and write the
right,
answer again. So a very important point which you said was that come back and write that answer again. So that is something which I think many students miss out. They just go through the model answer and they're like, yeah, I'm done with this particular thing. So a
right,
very important point over there. Now Gaurav, coming to the prelims section, which is a very scary section these days for the students, like it is becoming tougher and tougher across the year. And in fact, you also said that you were struggling with the prelims part in your initial attempts. So what is making this particular prelims in the last 3 4 years really tough, and do you see a change in the strategy how prelims should be prepared? In fact, you were the student of Vajiram's prelims test series as well, so yeah, you can share your experience as well. So yeah, what was your overall strategy with respect to prelims in the changing years?
For prelims specifically, what went wrong on my side was very less practice. Because what I used to
Okay.
do was I used to read a very limited content for current. I used to almost neglect that part. I used to always only focus on static. Static is very much necessary. You have to come do your static through your PYQs. And also with respect to the content, first, I neglected much of the NCRT part. I was just focusing on some big references and all, and that was very wrong. I tried to identify what went wrong each and every year. In 2020 or in 2021, there was a question on Madanapalle,
Hmm.
importance of
Yeah.
Madanapalle, yeah, somewhere around, related to Janagana, national anthem, Janagana Mana. And when I identified what was the source of that question, it was related on a 7th standard NCRT polity book, and below the preamble, I guess, it was written, or the Janagana below the national anthem on the third page of NCRT book, they had given that fact that that was the place where Rabindranath Tagore had translated the Janagana Mana. So that was a fact that instead of reading some big bulky books, I started with NCRTs first, and that helped me.
Okay.
So that was the time, and at least when everyone was revising the big reference book, I was revising the NCRT notes, and because they are concise, to the point, they are short, and they are quick to revise. The first iteration would take around 1 month, the second iteration would take around 20 days, but by the time you go for third and fourth, it is hardly a matter of 4 to 5 days. You will complete all 6 to 10 standard papers in all the subjects if you dedicate an entire 12 hours or 10 hours on an average. So for prelims, and like I can see, like, many of the viewers ask me what are the sources and all. I would always suggest that go for the NCRTs and any one reference book related to that subject. For example, if you are going for polity, the sources for prelims has to be NCRTs plus one reference book, be it DD Basu, be it BK Sharma, be it Lakshmikant. So it doesn't matter, but you have to trust your source. That "Acha, if I'm reading this till the end, I have to believe in that I have covered lot of part, because although question might not directly come from that particular book, I'm sure that if you are able to identify that concept, you will clear that question. Second thing is, for the prelims, try to start, many people start, those who are repeatedly giving mains, and I've seen like many of them have given 2 to 3 mains but have not been able to clear this year's prelims. Please start preparing early. I've seen people starting from mid of February to March almost, so it's a big risk. Yeah, because if you're not able to clear it, you will be means thrown out of the race in the very first stage, and that is something, because again an entire year gets wasted. So for that, even if you are preparing for mains, it won't help, because unless and until you clear prelims, the mains is not of any use. And I've seen people spending lot of time on mains even during vacation, that working on optional and all. Optional won't require that much part, although optional is difficult, but trust that prelims is very important, because so I would suggest, like, those of people should start preparing that 1st of January is ideal. Although you may be an expert in qualifying prelims, or you may be a beginner, I would suggest that start around 1st January, or by 15th January you should shift to NCRTs. In the first month, start reading NCRTs. In the second month, read the corresponding reference book. And when I say, like, just start reading, doesn't mean just start reading. If you have completed a topic, go and attempt a test that day or a next day. What happens is, if I'm doing, for example, geography, I'll just go tomorrow, I'll give a test. It will happen that you'll start easily recalling the content, and that helps you, and makes, if you, even if you don't know now, attempt all the 100 questions, let them go wrong, doesn't matter. Once they go wrong, you will remember, because like I said, the question on greenwashing, I went
Right.
and I made a mistake, but next time when the question came, I was very much like, that question in the past I had solved it. So in this very manner, what happens is, you won't push the burden to the end, that no, in the last 1 month I'll give 30 tests. It is not possible, because reviewing that test is also difficult. If you're given a test and you start reviewing that 100 questions, it will almost consume your 4 to 5 hours. Then when you'll start, go back and start revising, when you'll read the other content, when you will revise the current affairs, so lot of thing happens, you go into pressure or depression, and everything is a mess. So that thing you have to avoid. So do it in a very planned manner. So today, if I'm reading geography, tomorrow I'll go and give a test, and just don't revise that test the day itself. Let a day or two pass. What will happen is, you will forget some of that content, and that is an
Hmm.
advantage. For example, on Monday I've read geography, Tuesday I gave a test, let Wednesday and Thursday or Friday pass, go on Saturday. I used to dedicate my 2 days, Saturday Sunday I used to not study at all. just go and revise the papers or the things you have done from Monday to Friday. So what I used to do as Saturday morning, 3 to 4 hours, I used to revise. Acha, what went wrong? What went wrong? What would happen is the Monday's content that I have read, I was able to recall on Saturday. It won't happen suddenly. It requires a lot of practice. So 3 4 hours, like after 5 to 10 papers, you will start recalling the content. But by the time you give your 30 to 48 test, a full length, full syllabus, 100 question test, it will help you. Means almost you the in 2022 I gave around 120 to 130 full length syllabus tests. So almost by 1300 questions were ready. So now, even now, it's not just a matter of luck because I am fully prepared. I know that luck won't matter much, although it's a 10% always luck is required, but my 80 to 90% thing is ready. And even if I take a probability, like let's assume a 1% or a 10%, almost of 14,000 question, 140 questions might, there are high chances that they might come into prelims. Even if I let go of the 40 questions, I still have 100 questions, which is a big thing. Even if I again
Right.
cut it down to 50, I myself know that that is required. And today's prelims are like this because what UPSC is trying to do, it they can't eliminate everyone at being section because people are studying a lot these days, and we can't say no because some people are studying for more than 12 hours, 13 hours. And if everyone is giving that much time, somewhere if you have to eliminate or to identify some good persons, they'll make questions difficult, but in analytical term. So for that, prelims has become a stage where lot of people are going out. So you have to,
Correct.
you don't take prelims lightly is what I would suggest. And before preparing,
So basically, what you're
just
basically what? Haha.
yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
So sorry, just a last thing. Just don't have a lot of vast sources. One means NCRTs of 6 to 10th plus one reference book and a test series. These three things should help you complete that subject. Yeah.
Right. So what you're saying is that first is that you have to start early. Unlike earlier years, maybe 3 4 years back, where student would start preparing for the prelims in February, somewhere around February. Now you have to start preparing for the prelims in January itself. And you also pointed out the importance of NCRT, which is a very important point for the students who are listening to us. NCRTs are something which we can never ever neglect, right? So that is something. And you mentioned that you gave almost 120 to 130 tests. So my question is that did you also make notes out of these tests, or what was your strategy of revising all these 130 tests that you gave? And in fact, the revision strategy for the entire prelims paper. So how did you revise?
The thing is, I've seen like when I came to Delhi, actually, the thing was when I left my job, I didn't have the test centers. I was in Pune at that time, and the test centers were closed because of COVID. So when the only reason I came to Delhi was to because some of the test centers were open and they were allowing students to attempt test. So when I went there, I've seen lot of people have bulky notes. For example, so I was like, for me, those were not notes. Notes are something, my perception of notes or my concept of notes is something that if for example there are 10 things and I only forget three of things each and every time, for me I'll just make a note of those three things.
Hmm.
Those three things I should be able to recall that, because I don't need 7 points, the other 7 points. But what I've seen people is they are idealistic about it. For example, in the model solutions, all the model answers, those are idealistic answers, but people start assuming that all the four options, because an examiner might change that one for the fourth option and he might give the fifth option. You can again, you what people will do is they'll again go and identify what was the fifth option and try to identify that. We can't do that. So
Yeah.
practically that thing you should avoid. For me, what I used to do was I used to not make notes at all. For me is I've read my NCRTs, I have read my reference book. So that's what I said. You have to trust your sources. I know that I have read those two things. My third thing is the test. So once I go to test center and I've solved the paper, I get a model answer or an explanation or an answer. So I used to come home, or if you have many of the people are using iPad and something of that sort, so you can just download the e-copy. So I used to decide a color sheets. I had to decide the writers and also the color sheets. Like for example, the content which I'm regularly making mistakes. For example, every year I used to make mistakes in center state related to financial, so a transaction or related to budget questions. So I used to use a red color pen to highlight that. Acha. So whenever I was writing the test on Saturday, I used to go and every time I used to spend 4 to 5 minutes on that question. If I'm making it's a normal question, but I made mistake due to revising or overthinking. Like I was not able to eliminate that options and all. So I used to use a green color. If the question is easy and every time I'm doing it correctly, I use a green color so that when I go back, I don't have to revise all the 100 questions. My first revision of that test paper would take almost 4 to 5 hours, but when the second revision should happen in 20 minutes, because by the time I'm appearing for prelims, I should do all revise all my test papers at least 3 times. So first time I'm doing taking second time I'm taking 20 to 30 minutes, third time it should be in 5 minutes. I should just go and turn the pages. Acha, this is the red part. So first time I'm reading all the questions, second time I'm reading the green and the yellow, red part, and third time I'm only reading the red part. So I used to use a color code. So that helps you reduce time, reduce unnecessary rewriting or copying into your notebook or some textbook that you have created. So it just reduce almost my 2 to 3 hours every day. So it helps me that I have enough time to go and revise the test paper or read some new content. For example, current affairs magazine or some new test paper and all. So that is the main approach, because when you are revising, you can't just go and read each and every question and just answer. Your focus should be why that question was prepared, how it was prepared, and what is the main impact. So you identify those three parts, identify the options. Acha, out of four options, I know three of them, and I don't know fourth of them. Just go and read them. Period. But just don't start making notes in the first two iterations. What will happen is in the first iteration, every question will be new for you, and you will say, "Oh, I don't know this one. I should make a note of them." People would start writing. In the second test, again, you will go and start jotting down points. By the time you do the third iteration, which is of 20 to 30 minutes, and you look at that question paper and you are still not able to recall that content, just make notes of that particular question. What will happen is out of every 100 questions, only 10 questions to 20 questions are there which you are always making it wrong. So that 20 questions are the only my notes for that particular test, whether it is polity or some other subject. So by the time prelims is nearby, I'm having almost only 200 to 300 questions which I am continuously making them wrong, and I have enough content which is almost of 50 to 60 page notes, and it is easy for everyone to revise. And last year in my prelims, I was just giving a test on alternate days, and I used to spend entire day on just revising my previous test. I was not reading my NCRTs because I have read that too many times. I'm not revising my reference book because I've again read that 2 3 times. Only thing that remains was the test paper, the third part. So I was just revising my test papers step by step, and that helped me score enough to clear prelims.
Right. So basically, what you're mentioning is the smart strategy to revise and make notes. So instead of making notes in a separate handbook, what you would do is that color code those questions which you were not able to remember or you were not able to solve, and that smartly reduce the amount of time which you took in revision. So that's a very good strategy, which I think the students listening to us can take it. And in fact, again, I would say for all those who are listening to this particular thing, you can ask your questions in the comment section. Just after this particular discussion, we will take up all your questions as well. So Gaurav, one thing which striking me is that what is the role of newspapers in your prelims preparation? Because newspapers, how would you find out those points in the newspaper which can come in the prelims, or like what was the entire role importance of newspaper for your prelims examination?
Yes, newspaper actually, it's not only in just in UPSC. Even you should have a daily habit of reading newspaper, like coming into the service and all. Reading newspaper, it just gives you a perspective and how to start, how the world is viewing those things. It's not only about the content. And coming to UPSC also, like when you start reading newspaper, we are very much inclined to first 2 3 pages which are very much political and news are controversial. We should skip that part consciously and move to the editorial part, that how opinions are framed, because that opinions will help you add points to your answers in mains as well as in prelims. Also, for example, reading newspaper on Sundays. Sundays, for example, the Hindu has a science and tech part, which
Yeah.
specifically have questions in the box in the right part, left part, bottom right part. Sorry. So that thing you should identify, because to from if anyone has done a proper analysis, they can clearly identify from Times or the Hindu questions are getting asked. Because the thing is, UPSC wants how you read the content, because UPSC have to identify people who are knowledgeable but who also have equal access. They have to bring equity in services as well. So what is the
Hmm.
common sources that instead of reading some big bulky books, UPSC has given NCRT is the priority, because that is the book a person from Northeast, a person from North, a person from Maharashtra, or a person from South would always read. Because again, next thing is, for current newspapers is the only thing which is common to all of them, and it is affordable and person can read from it. So reading newspaper is very effective, and it also helps you create opinion. For example, there was a Kargil Divas celebrated, so why Kargil happened, what was the issues in that, which committees were framed. So in editorial you have to have a relation with the UPSC syllabus. So use a highlighter, just don't make notes of it. Use a highlighter, use on newspaper cuttings, and just use it, recall it at the end of the day. You have 5 to 10 good news, which you can revise it on later on. And that's what I said, on Sundays I used to just go and read those parts. For example, from Monday to Friday there are 5 newspapers. I'm assuming 10 news are important in it, 50 news. On Sunday, just reading those 50 news won't take much time. So
Right,
you
right.
don't have to prepare notes, because that won't happen. If you have written it somewhere, you'll again go have to find that, identify those things and write it. Rather than if you have somewhere those things, if you have revising it again and again, they are active somewhere in your subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so coming to the tricks and techniques to solve the prelims paper. So I would ask you, what was your strategy of solving the paper? So content part we have discussed, current affairs, test series, all of that we have discussed. What I want to ask is that how would you solve number of rounds that you would take to solve the prelims paper, or the number of questions you are going to attempt, right? So any kind of elimination tricks, techniques, all those kind of things. So what was your approach in solving the paper?
Yes, actually, in my first 2 3 attempts, that was the reason I was not able to qualify, because my approach was very bad. So literally, in my the attempt in which I cleared my prelims, actually, a day before, I always called one of my friend Ajay. I used to always go and ask him, "Bhai, kaun sa paper pen use kar raha hai?" I used to even go and ask, "Which pen are you using?" When I came to Delhi, I got to know that there is one pen of cello, in which can be useful in filling up the bubbles and all. Because I
Yeah.
thought those things won't matter, but that thing helps at in the test center, because UPSC will give you 1 or 2 minutes of yours, and you can attempt 2 3 extra questions. And coming to how it should be solved, so there are some certain questions, as everyone knows that, like, if you have done a paper analysis, PYQ analysis, like certain questions, if there is an extreme keyword like always, only, so that things have a always certain questions, or the certain questions are wrong. Next thing is, how to approach it. So I used to divide by 2 hours, so I have to know that there are 100 questions. I used to divide them in three parts. In first 40 to 45 minutes, I have to complete an entire 100 question round. I used to only identify those questions which I know sure shot that, acha, this is the only question, and there are no other options, and there is no confusion. I am 100% sure. And only UPSC has such a unpredictability and difficulty, that there are only 30 to 35 questions which everyone knows, and everyone knows that, acha, those are correct. So first round 35, I am assuming, let's say 40 questions. So by the time in first iteration I've done 35 to 40 questions, I'll go and I'll immediately mark them. Because don't keep it in the end. What happens is, at one hand you have a question paper, one hand you have an OMR sheet. If you start going at the end in that anxiety mode, or in the confusion, or in that movement, so you might go and fill some other bubble. I've done that even after going through 100 140 test papers. So immediately go and fill up the bubble for 35. You know that my 70 marks are safe. Somewhere I've done that. After 45 minutes, shift to the second iteration to identify those questions which in which you are 50% sure, or 75, or you don't know the one of the options, or there are extreme, and something which can be done if you give enough time. I'm asking 35 minutes, 35 questions. You don't need to think. 1 minute, 30 seconds you're spending it on reading the questions. 20 seconds you're reading the options, and 5 to 10 seconds you're answering them correctly. So that, but coming to the second iteration, you may have to dedicate much time, like 30, 40 more, like 1 minute, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, in identify those questions where you're 50% sure and 50% not. Here the thing comes in, use of the techniques like the extreme keywords, how is the same factual errors, if you are good at it, because many of time UPSC does is UPSC twist the data, like 75 will be replaced by 100 or 1000%, something of that sort. In one of the FRA question, like Forest Rights Act, they had like 100 acres in place of 10 acres. Some of the figure was changed. So such questions are always wrong. But you should know that, because if you have practiced that many questions, you will know that acha, UPSC always plays those tricks. So you will be able to identify. In the third iteration, I will only go for now you know that acha, in the second iteration I've again solving 25 to 30 questions. So by second iteration, I'm taking around 45 minutes. So for 35 minutes earlier and 45 minutes, almost 1 hour 30 minutes, or 1 hour 35 minutes I've taken. Now I only have 30 minutes remaining. Again, in that I have to only go and attempt. I would just give a suggestion: never go below 80. If you are attempting below 80, there are very less chances you won't clear your prelims, because if you 10 to 15 questions you will definitely make it wrong. Be it anything, lack of knowledge, mistakes in filling up the bubbles and all. So never go. But going above 85, you will identify a threshold. How to identify that threshold, how much questions to attempt. Uh, so that is when practice test series helps in. If you are attempting a lot of test series, you'll identify that whenever I'm attempting beyond 90 questions, my score is somewhere around 90, 9500. But when I'm going below 85, my score has reduced to 60, because we know that we have to identify that threshold, and somewhere you will identify that acha, 85 is an ideal case for me, in which I have to, whenever I'm attempting 85 questions, I'm securing a 95 or 100 plus score. So that thing will help you, and just keep on practicing that thing. So that will help you. Now you know that acha, in the final prelims I have to go and attempt 85, and in the first two rounds, like almost 1 hour 30 minutes, I have done my 70 questions. Now the for remaining 15 to 20 questions I have to take risk, and you have 30 minutes remaining with you, which you don't have to solve any homework. Now start a reverse thing, like identify those questions you don't know, and you have to consciously go and cross that question on the test paper. Because what will happen is, out of that last minute anxiety, you will start go and attempting that question.
Right,
What will
right.
happen is, acha, the last 5 minutes they'll announce, acha, 5 minute bache hain. What students will do, they will count their questions, acha, I've only attempted 85, but my friend is doing 95 and 90, and chalo, I will also attempt and take a 5. But that thing will not yield result, because if you don't know that thing, don't attempt. And UPSC is such a thing that you can't attempt all of them, because some questions are something nobody knows and you have to avoid them. So consciously go and cross that question. And now out of that 30 questions, I know that acha, 12 I'm not able to solve, 18 questions. Out of that 18 questions, I have to solve 15 questions. So that thing you have to do it very consciously. You have to be 100, 200% conscious into that thing. The moment you take it lightly or just avoid certain thing, you are bound to make mistakes. So that thing, avoid that, and always go for three iterations. Because first iteration, the questions which you are 100% sure. Second iteration, question in which you are 50% sure. Third is questions where you only know one of the options, or might two of the options, but you have to take a risk, because you are not factually correct, or you don't know, but you have to attempt it anyhow. So that, and also for that you require at least 2 minutes. So like for 15 minutes you have 30 minutes, 15 questions you have 30 minutes, or 2 minutes each question. So you have to plan it very carefully. Like for first iteration I have just 40 to 50 seconds, second iteration I have 1 minute 20 to 30 seconds, and third iteration I have 15 minutes for each question. So after doing, and for this it requires lot of practice. So go into the test centers and do that, do all the trials. do all that mistakes, deliberately go and attempt, go and do fill up the wrong bubbles, because do all that mistakes in the test center, but when you are in the prelims test center, you have to be conscious. You can't make those mistakes. So that's why the practice is very much important, and I think that is the strategy which helped me. In the last 5 minutes, you have to be very conscious not to go and deliberately take a risk. People tend, because in the last moment you'll just go and acha, now it's 85 questions, just I'll just attempt three more and I'll just leave it. But that three, if that three questions are wrong, you'll lose on to 2 marks, and it is enough for you to exit the race. Only
Correct,
13 to
correct, correct.
14,000 students will get qualified for means. So you have to be very conscious not to mark in anxiety. Yeah.
Right. So basically, a very important point you have said is that test series, like it, you have to go for a three-round solving of prelims paper, and to understand as to what is your limit or what is your optimum number of questions, you have to go through multiple tests. So therein, the role of test series definitely comes in, and very important point that you have mentioned, and many students do make this particular mistake is in the last 5 to 10 minutes they go for this reckless attempting of the questions. They would go for blind guesses, they just to improve or increase the number of questions that they want to attempt. So a very good point by you that blind guesses, reckless attempting is something that we should avoid, and give
Avoid.
multiple tests so that we understand what is our optimum number of questions that
Strength.
needs to be attempted.
Yes, yes, yes. Right.
Right. So, Gaurav, there are so many students who fail this examination multiple times. In fact, at the prelims stage. So, my question is that number one, what is their biggest reason that they keep failing at the prelims stage? And number two is that how do any student who is failing in this particular examination, how should you handle failures?
Okay. For students actually who have given like 2 3 attempts and are not able to qualify the prelims, go back and check your score. Like for me, it was 50, 60, 70. I was giving up in my hopes, and I was also almost going into depression and all. But the thing was, I knew that I would just need one attempt, because I knew what are the reasons for my failure. So identify that reason. For me, it was my working hours. So I used to travel a lot from 9 to 6. I used to get very less time, and for that. But I knew that I have to give at least one attempt with 200% dedication. I may fail
Hmm.
again, but that would be my last. Somewhere you have to bring a deadline to your attempts, because you just can't keep attempting just because you have attempts left. Because what will happen is after 6 years, when you have no other option and you get outside those race, you will find that world has moved ahead and you are still lagging. Your friends are in some good places working, doing good jobs. Some of them must have gone abroad for education and all. So that thing you have to identify, that what is going wrong. Is it your dedication? If it's some procedural flaws, if it's some procedural flaws, if you're making mistakes, if you're just not able by like 2 3 marks, you're not able to qualify prelims by 2 3 marks, it's not because of the issue. Somewhere the revision must be lagging, some reading must have been, or some practice must have been not there. But if you are not able to qualify more than 20 marks or 30 marks, somewhere you need to do some like self reflection, that what is going wrong. Either you are not very much focused or dedicated. Because if you are focused, you should be at least have some progress. So that's what I said. Every weekend or every month, try to identify that thing. And that thing would help me, because in the first 2 attempts I was just going blindly in a random direction. Acha, I have time, I'll read this subject, I'll do something. But the year I cleared prelims, it was in very planned manner. Even a weekly progress, I used to have a Excel sheet. Acha, Monday to Friday I've studied. Acha, well, this is my progress and this is my threshold. That whenever I'm attempting 80 questions, these are right and wrong. So I used to bring an accuracy chart. I was from computer field, so I knew acha, how to use Excel. Some people who don't like may use a pen and paper and just draw a map and just stick it on the wall. So whenever you are feeling like we just take a 2 hours break, just go and read that paper. Your motivation will kick in. You'll again come back and sit for another 2 hours rather than wasting them that 2 hours. So just track your progress a week before, like for week, from some may plan for a month. And it doesn't has to be idealistic that you have to achieve all your goals within 1 month. But only thing is, keeping that tracking will help you. Acha, are you on right track? Your pace might be slow, you might be fast on achieving your goals, but if I know that what I'm doing in this 1 month and all, and that has helped me tracking it every month and all. So just make a note, identify what is going wrong. If someone is failing by 2 to 3 marks, don't feel bad and so on. It's just another year, because 10% luck factor is there. Let's assume that that luck has not been in your favor. Go start preparing for the next year. For example, if someone is saying, acha, if this year is not successful, next year try to go for 80 papers. Double your efforts, double your things. Because I can guarantee you, the day you will see that 80 pages PDF now, all that is, every moment will be worth it. Because I
Right, right.
know 3 years I have been nowhere in that frame, and the moment I see that acha, prelims mein my roll numbers was there, I was happy. The moment my name came into that mains PDF list, something again boost in. So your efforts also boost in. Then you get that what we call is a golden PDF. So that thing will be the
The holy
motivation, true
PDF.
motivation to identify. Because after 4 years, I was no one before 4 years. Till the
Right,
day,
right.
everything will change. So that motivation
Correct.
has to be there. And if someone is just failing by 20, 30 marks, identify what is going wrong. To that, for that identification, you just go and write test papers or something. Because test yourself. What is going wrong in that process? How to test? If you're lagging on knowledge, improve your knowledge. If you're lagging on confidence, improve your confidence. If you're lagging on direction, take a mentorship. Ask your friends, someone who has qualified, that thing. See, you have opportunities. The only thing is, the road is very far and you have to pass that. So keep continuing, keep walking. Just don't stop in between. Acha, ki now I'm my interest is gone. Because if you have decided to pursue UPSC, you will face a lot of things, but I can assure you it is worth it. It is going to be difficult, but it is going to be worth it.
Right. So I think those who are listening to us, I think they would be motivated by the very fact, the way you are saying these things. So I'm sure it's acting like a motivation for all the students who are listening to us. So what you're saying is that the students who are failing continuously, they have to go back to the drawing board again, analyze your mistake, give the tests again, find out what exactly is missing out, and have a weekly or a monthly tracking as well. Mother, you have to be accountable to yourself rather than being
Self.
accountable to anyone else. You have to keep tracking the minute details as to what you are preparing, and that's how you can find out the mistakes. Fine. So before I open this particular session to a question and answer session, just last question from my side, Gaurav, is that do you see a change in the trend of the questions being asked in prelims? For example, we see defense based questions, we are seeing sports based question. So is there a trend that you can see, and also how to solve these environment based questions which are there in the prelims examination, which is generally very tricky for the students? So what was your approach?
Something related to environment specifically, that's what I said. Like, I was missing my prelims by almost 20 to 30 marks. So it was a big thing for me. So again, I went down into self reflection. Some of my sources were lagging. Like, that's what I said. If you're reading newspapers now, the Sunday volume, I used to always find that Sunday science and tech questions were very much repeating, and UPSC was targeting that. In one of the year, I guess in 2020 or 2021, UPSC has given name of three birds, and I knew that it was in my notes, but I couldn't revise it. The name of the three, I still have that notes with me. Exactly, I've written the names of the three birds, and and that thing. So just identify the current trend. That's what I said. If you are missing out on newspaper, go and read a recital or a monthly magazine. You don't know that that might help you cover that science and tech and environment, because those two domains are very much current oriented. You can't just go
Right.
into static part. So if you're
Correct.
missing on the magazine part, just go and read newspaper. So that will supplement each other. And next thing is, if someone has done a proper analysis, one of the questions on, for example, Kharai Camel was asked. It was a down to
Right.
earth volume of December 2021 or January. In last 2 3 years, you are being down to earth. So I would recommend people to, like, or the students to go and read that, to identify the environment and science and tech related questions. One of the main question on 2022 of James Webb Telescope was also covered in one of the magazines, I think, and that helped me. So my sources were shifted from the static part to current part. So identify the subjects and how it is oriented. So polity is very much static, history is very much static, but environment or the defense and agriculture part is very much current oriented. So study accordingly. So whenever you are reading a newspaper, identify acha, if it's a question, is it overlapping with my UPSC syllabus? If yes, just make a note of it. So that would be my note. Just don't go and write it, just make a note of it. For example, exam recently has been started related to agriculture, so just take a note of it and write it. So this year also there was a question on digital land record monetization, digital monetization. So that was very much current oriented, and I think everyone has read and have attempted that question. So just read it, and I think you are good to go.
Right, right. So, to all the students who are listening to us, now you can ask whatever doubt you have to Gaurav, and you can post it in the comment section. We will take up those doubts. So, Gaurav, I am going to ask you a few doubts which the students have asked till now. So, the first doubt is like from Mohit Sharma. He's saying that, sir, can I complete the preparation if I start now for both prelims and mains? So basically, that student is trying to start now with respect to their preparation. So can they complete the preparation now? Is it sufficient time available or not?
I think yes, they can, but only thing is they have to do some things very rapidly. Rather, just that's what I said. You have to, there is no one specific approach, because if you are attempting it, you have to plan your own studies and all. I know that acha, I'm the other part. I'll just focus more on them. So rather, that's what I said. If I'm giving NCRT three readings, I would cut down to two. If they are planning for 6 prelims, I would say that just join a test series and start with reading prelims and mains together. So there is another question which many of the students ask, that should I prepare prelims and mains separately? So that is all very
Right.
much relating to this. No, entire process is integrated. You don't have to study everything separate. Only thing is you can segregate the things, what thing has to be studied at what time. So like for October to December, I know that I have to focus very much on mains, but I can't neglect prelims. Just identify such topics which are for mains but not for prelims, but they're overlapping. For example, internal security, ethics, disaster management, world history, Indian society, social justice, so and agriculture. Such topics are not directly asked for prelims, but they are for mains, and they are overlapping. So just prepare them from October to December, and go and attempt a test series related to that. By the time you start with prelims from January 1st of January last year, it will help you complete all the other topics of mains as well. That is history, modern history, geography, physical geography, economics. So by the time you are attempting prelims, your half of the main syllabus is already complete, along with your optional. And by the time, if you are you get qualified for prelims, now for the mains your already 50% portion was complete. Now only thing is you have to integrate it, give one revision and start writing test, because 3 months is short. You have to do it to the point. But now is the time. If I would think that it is a bit delay if someone is trying to start this late. But if they have attempts left, or if it's someone's first attempt, they can definitely go and attempt prelims. They might be fortunate and they might get cleared if they're 100% dedicated. So yes, if you start by today also, I can think by December end you will have completed almost 30 to 40% of your main syllabus. By January 1st, you have to shift to anyhow to prelims, and make sure by April you have attempted enough test series. And if you're fortunate and if you have cleared prelims, you will have ample of time to complete the other parts of mains. 3 months is enough to compare. If UPSC is giving you 3 months, that means you are able to complete all the syllabus.
Fine. So I think Mohit has got his answer that definitely you should start preparing for your examination right now, and supposedly you can finish off the syllabus and even get good marks as well. So next question, Gaurav, is from Nitish, and the student is saying that they are preparing for 8 to 9 hours every day consistently. They are studying, but still they feel like they're behind everyone else. So what kind of they want some kind of motivation from you, or basically what I would like to ask is that what kind of problems would this particular student would be doing, what mistakes they are doing, that even after studying for 8 to 9 hours they're still behind others. So how should they analyze their mistakes?
So my like 2 to 3 questions are like, why are you comparing some yourself with others, your races
Right,
with
that is
yourself?
true. Hmm.
Because the moment you start comparing, you might be scoring 100 marks. You may go after like even after comparing, you may achieve 110 marks. It's no big deal. But what if other is better than you, is scoring 120 marks? But what will happen here is you were just comparing with a person who was scoring 100 marks, and someone with more potential overtook you into that process. So just don't compare with them. If someone is studying 8 hours, it's his advantage, means he is able to do that with high consistency. If you are giving 8 to 9 hours, so honestly I've never done that. So my philosophy was, I used to go morning 8 o'clock to library, 8 to 8. I used to leave anyhow the library. I can't sit beyond 8 o'clock. I used to see people sitting and all. Even I got many of the suggestions and advice that, Acha, are, bhaiya, you have to sit at least for 1 hour extra, at least go and revise. I said, like, no. Because people used to come at 10 in the morning and they used to leave around 10 in the night. So mine was a disciplined approach. I used to go morning 8 to 8. दिन में ही पढ़ाई करनी है, because you can't disturb your sleep cycle. Because what used to happen, that I've seen people who is doing around 12 in the noon, coming 12 in the noon and leaving midnight 1 to 2. So the next day morning they are very much dizzy, they don't know how to solve the paper, and they got, अच्छा अरे नहीं मैं कॉन्शियस नहीं था, मेरा क्वेश्चंस गलत हो गए, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा था, मैं कंफ्यूज हो गया. The thing is that second thing, like if you're like studying for 8 to 9 hours, if you're not scoring good marks, or you are feeling low somewhere, you are not testing yourself. That's what I said. Improve your test series. Test series is a solution to everything. Just go and attempt a test. If you are on right path, you will identify it through the results. If not, the marks won't matter. But अच्छा, आफ्टर सॉल्विंग अ टेस्ट आई एम फीलिंग कॉन्फिडेंट दैट कि नहीं, अच्छा 10 क्वेश्चंस मुझे आ रहे थे और मैंने अच्छे से सॉल्व किए. कल कल का मेरा टारगेट 15 क्वेश्चंस का है. नेक्स्ट डे का टारगेट 20 है. सो लाइक आई सेड, कीप अ ट्रैक एंड बी अकाउंटेबल टू योरसेल्फ, नॉट टू अदर्स. He might be studying 8 hours, but I've seen people who have only worked for 6, who have been studying for 6 hours, and yet they have qualified. I've seen people who have only been working for 6 hours, and yet they have qualified. Set your own benchmark, compare it to yourself, and don't be, because see, if you are getting qualified doesn't mean, for example, if I start comparing, I've qualified civils, and I've seen that other people have not been able to which I was comparing. And the biggest motivation was the day I quit my job at the age of 26. I went to Delhi, and just to say, like, I was sitting in the library where almost I've seen people who have given 2 to 3 mains, and I was the person, even after 3 attempts I was not able to sit with them. Yet I went there, and I keep revising. They had given a fourth mains with me, but still couldn't qualify. But now, thing is, it's not like, because I knew that my target is, I have my own target. मैंने अपने घर पे बता दिया था कि अच्छा एक अटेम्प्ट दूंगा, अगर इसके बाद नहीं हुआ, आई विल लीव सिविल्स, आई वुड नेवर टर्न बैक. But in that very year, I was so focused that the same year I cleared my civils, I cleared my forest, I cleared my Central Armed Police Force test, and also cleared my SSC Tier 1. So that was my biggest achievement. I'm not comparing with them, but I have to know that, acha, this is my day's task, I have to complete them. Just don't compare. And if people want some motivation, na, just make a list of things you have to do each and every day. So for me, it was my resignation letter. So I used to, so this was my phone, and I just had kept my resignation letter as my wallpaper. So कभी भी अगर low feel हो रहा है ना, तो just get back to your fears. That fear will be your motivation. कि अच्छा आप पीछे क्या
Absolutely.
छोड़ के आए हो. You अपना जॉब छोड़ के आए हो, अपनी सैलरी छोड़ के आए हो, अपनी फैमिलीज, अपने फ्रेंड्स. So whatever is close to you, if you are sacrificing it, just make a note of it and just keep it in front of your desk. कि कभी भी लो. और I
Absolutely.
don't think people need motivation in this process. If because situations have, I've seen people coming from such bad situations, जिसके पास खाने के लिए नहीं है, उसको मोटिवेशन क्यों बताना है. उसको उस दिन का खाना मिल गया, वही बहुत है. So just focus on your goals. Today my thing is to, I have to survive the day anyhow. might if I'm able to survive that day, I've done that 12 hours of study decently. चलो अच्छा 15 दिन में एक दिन बोर हो गए ना, just use the entire day and do random stuff. एक दिन पढ़ने का मूड नहीं हो रहा है, जाके पिक्चर भी देख के आओ, कोई इशू नहीं है. अगर वेस्ट कर रहे हो वो दिन अच्छे से वेस्ट करो, नहीं तो होता क्या है, वेस्ट भी नहीं करोगे ना पढ़ाई करोगे, नेक्स्ट दिन वापस लगेगा यार वेस्ट नहीं किया, नेक्स्ट दिन भी वैसे ही जाएगा. यू कांट अफोर्ड. मंथ में वन डे लाइक अ चीट डे, जस्ट गो आउट, डू भी अपना जो भी कोई इशू नहीं है. जस्ट थिंग इज स्टिक टू योर प्लान, दैट्स थिंग. या
Right. So I think Nitish has got his answer. So basically, the first thing is that don't compare yourself with anyone else. It's your journey, and everyone's journey is different. So just be consistent and be trustful, be hopeful, be honest with your own journey. So next question that we have is from Sakshi, and she's saying that what are the challenges that you faced in the initial stages? So I think you have already addressed it. Maybe you can summarize the challenges that you faced in your initial attempts.
yes, that's what I said. Like just to summarize, that when I came to Delhi and all, I just found out that the sources was never an issue. So for me, if for others, if that is an issue, just that's what I said. One reference book should be enough. Next thing, revisions, which I skipped a lot of times. Don't skip them. Reserve 2 of the days: Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, Monday. So, for example, I used to do. I reserved Saturday and Sunday because Saturday has to give a test. तो आधा दिन तो 2-3 घंटे चले जाते थे, तो पढ़ने का मन भी नहीं करता. Rather than spending it, just go and revise things. That will help you rather than reading new things. And Sunday used to be my mains day. 3 घंटे जाके टेस्ट लिखना है and revise it. So revisions is the second thing. Third is answer writing. Don't delay it. The more and more you write answers, improve, but don't skip it, because you can't do it in the 3 months prelims and means. At least you have to start basic writing. Approach, acha, stakeholder approach, acha, I'm doing some other approach. You may have your approach, and no, I would say that there is no one approach to answer. All the answers are perfect. How you justify it, how you present it, how you decorate your answers, and so the diagrams and all that thing you have to work upon. Fourth thing is be confident. Something like those who have failed 2-3 times, the confidence is very low. Believe in yourself. If you are very much dedicated and all, issue, identify that issue. Like someone says like, अच्छा मैं हिंदी में नहीं prepare कर सकता. For me English is very difficult, but that is my mode of answer, medium of answer. Keep writing. That's what I said. Reading a model answer will give you some of the keywords, and frame a template of your answer. Like that's what sure shot means. I got a template and I just framed कि अच्छा मेरे answers में ये keywords आने वाला चाहिए. See, they are not checking your grammar, spelling mistakes. The only thing able to analyze the thing, and that if you are able to justify them or satisfy them, you'll definitely get a marks. We don't want to score 9 out of 10. We have to score 10, but it has to be in a for across all the questions. So that thing. So again, I'll just reiterate: sources, practice, revision, decent handwriting, and time management. So these are the
Right.
5 things or 6 things you should focus upon.
Correct. So moving on to the next question. The next question is by Himanshu, and he's saying that how to remain calm during giving the examination and during this preparation, and how to reduce or how to ensure that there is no lack of discipline in his, how to control the mind and body. That is the question which Himanshu is asking, and it's up to you to answer.
Yeah, for that actually, something I also learnt in Delhi only, because sitting 8 to 10 hours, you start gaining weight and all. So I think you are mentally fit. You're calm. You would be calm. So for that, do like spend at least 1 hours in the morning or early morning, 5 to 6. Just go for a walk. When you out, listen to songs. So in the night, I used to always have 30 minutes reserved for songs. I used to go home early. That's what around 8 I used to eat my food. I used to listen to songs and any random stuff that you like. So, for example, I used to have 2-3 friends who background. So, or with family members, you can go back and talk with them. So, whenever you are in depression, I used to always call one of my friend, "अरे company में क्या चल रहा है?" We used to do some gossips and gossip talk and all. So that helped me to be calm. because there is a lot of pressure. We can't deny that, because UPSC is almost a year long journey. It's almost you spend 1 year in preparation and 1 year in the process. So it's almost a 2 year journey, and it's not easy for everyone. And anxiety will always kick in. And that's what they said. Even in the exam center, if you have done lot of practice, you won't feel that stress. So घर पे बैठ के टेस्ट पेपर देने से अच्छा एग्जाम सेंटर में जाओ जहाँ गर्मी है. That's why I used to lot of institutes conduct mock test, open mock test in some schools. So I used to do that in the morning. So it would मतलब it gives a feeling कि अच्छा एक actual UPSC की टेस्ट देने जा रहे हो. मॉर्निंग में मैं उसी तरह मतलब I've seen many of the students going to mock have never taken a printout of their admit card. I used to do that as well. Take a printout, go there in the morning, take a black pen, write a paper, have a watch on. I used to wear a similar type of clothes as well. तो it should replicate that environment. तो वो स्ट्रेस रहता नहीं. तो जिस दिन एक्चुअल प्रीलिम्स होती है, इट शुड बी लाइक अच्छा यार अनदर मॉक खत्म करके घर आना है, इतना नहीं सोचना. सो दैट ईजेज यू. सो आपका मूड, आप जितना शांत रहोगे, एंड ऑलवेज फॉलो सम ऑफ द अदर एक्टिविटीज रिलेटेड टू योर हॉबी. Like someone like to play badminton in the evening, go for a walk, do something, because that will make you physically fit. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, you should not take this examination on your head. You have to have a balanced life as well. Following
Balance.
your hobby, especially your sleep cycle should be good. I think that's what you mentioned. And yeah, having a proper routine, replicating the entire examination or the D-day in the real terms. Whenever you're going to go to give the test, wear those clothes. That's what Gaurav said. Or take the printout of the handout of the admit card. Those things
Admit card.
makes the process real, right? So I think that's a very good suggestion from Gaurav. Another question that we have is from Manvendra, and he's asking that how to improve the English language for mains examination, because he's a graduate from Hindi medium and he's preparing or giving the examination from the English medium. So what would you suggest for that?
Like I'll also say, like after like working in my company, and so when you suddenly switch to UPSC, language was not a big issue, because I've seen people who are from Marathi background. Like many of my friends were Marathi, and they were also attempting in English. The only thing where English important is in the language part, I guess, where you think you have to be creative in using or the choice of words. For them, you can just make a like daily. That's what I said. You can read newspaper. If you're reading newspaper daily, it will enrich your vocabulary. You will get some good content, how to frame sentences. Because we don't require a Shakespeare level any of the GS papers. It has to be average, and if you're able to use the keywords, just make a template of that thing. For example, if it's a governance, you will always have some definitions or keywords, like people-centric approach, Sevottam model, grievance redressal mechanism. So these are the keywords. So if you are able to bring those keywords into your answer, I don't think English won't matter that much. You may your vocabulary or grammar may be wrong, but if you are using that keywords, that will help you. Coming to ethics, English and language paper, focus on reading newspaper, because it will like more specifically editorials. Editorials will give you some good content or command over the language. So, and how to use frame sentence, how to frame opinions, so that will also help. So you can think, and I don't think language is that difficult. English is that difficult. Even if you know basic, you can. It is something you can improve on within a year. After spending a year of preparation, you can definitely improve on that.
Right. So basically, it's not about writing a very flowery and a very good English in the examinations. It's about
Yeah.
your content. A normal English with a decent language, I think, would do in the examination. Fine. So that's a great answer. Any other question which the students would like to ask? Because there's one more question which is about backup plan. I think Gaurav has very categorically mentioned that particular thing, that you need to have a backup plan. That's what Gaurav has said. So any other question, in case the students wants to ask, they can ask it. Otherwise, I think it was a very fruitful session for all the students. They have not only got the gems of knowledge from the topper, but also a huge amount of motivation from whatever Gaurav has said. So
Thank you.
yeah, I think we have addressed almost all the questions of the students. Just waiting if in case you want to ask any other question. Otherwise, we can wrap up this particular session. NCRT, someone is asking that they're reading NCRT's daily class notes, magazine, but they're not able to read the reference books. So, okay, so how would you answer that? Whether
So
reference books are needed in this particular sense?
uh, sorry, I didn't get the question. Means reference book, as in what specifically are they asking?
They're asking that they are reading NCRTs, they're reading the daily class notes, they're reading magazines, but they're not able to read the reference books, for example, Lakshmikant and those kind of books, because they're already overburdened with their class notes and the other books. So, do they really need to go to the reference book, or these fundamental books and their class notes are sufficient for clearing the examination?
Acha, huh. So, if your class notes are able to complete all the syllabus part or the major part that you have studied for the means, there is no need to go for reference. But reference book is something that will just add an advantage over your NCRTs, because NCRTs are the basics. You will always have some outer periphery or the boundary which will help you bring some added advantage or enrich the content. So it will elaborate. Like 10th schedule might not be similar to NCRTs because NCRTs have become old, a bit old. But 10th schedule or the some constitutional bodies are new. So that thing needs to be applied somewhere. And if your class notes, which are also prepared, if they are very recent and they are up to date, I don't think you have to again go for reference book. So if someone is going for reference book and have some notes, I think at least go and read once. At least try to go and read once. I know if there are some issues, you can correct that. For example, in ethics, I guess I was not able to read lexicon in continuity. I found the Tata McGraw-Hill book, which was pretty much similar. So I just switched to it. I read 2 3 chapters from that, and I was good to go. So just find an alternative which can cover that part.
Right, right. So basically, it's about having sufficient to clear the examination. If your class notes and everything is covering the portion which is given in the reference book, you are good to go with the class notes and your basic NCRTs as well.
Right.
So I think, yeah, Gaurav, thank you so much for whatever you have told the students. It was a very fruitful discussion, I guess. Anything, the last bit that you want to tell to the students before leaving this particular session? And we also wish you all the best for your future journey. Anything that you would like to tell the students at the last?
Yeah, but first of all, thank you, Abhinav, for conducting the session. It was
Wonderful.
actually fun for me as well, talking to lot and addressing lot of questions which I usually get, but doing it on a platform in which it is accessible to many of them. So it was really good. And just a last bit of motivation. I don't think you need a motivation. If you have decided to pursue UPSC somewhere, at least you are in the right direction. Just how to pass through the journey. Have faith in yourself, have confidence. Failures are always there. People might say okay because I have succeeded in the exam and all, but before that there were many failures. I was not able to clear corporate companies during my interviews. I was not able to clear GE, so that was again a failure. So my first 2 3 attempts were also a failure. So failures are always there, but bina failure ke success nahi hota. So that's what I said ki after 3 years nothing happened and suddenly your name pops in into that prelims wala PDF ki acha ha I have cleared prelims. Suddenly after 3 months of again effort my name pops in into the mains wala PDF and finally into the golden PDF. So that thing you have to aim. So just go for it. Don't think and just make sure ki you are uh, honest to yourself. Not to
Right.
show to others that you are studying. If you are studying, you should be accountable. At the end of the day, go in front of the mirror and say, "Na, acha, today I have justified my day. I have studied for 8 hours as I've planned. Some days might be bad, some days might be good, but you will have others people company. Believe it's your journey. You have to do it. You will be alone in some part as well, because 8 to 10 hours it's not easy. Your friends might not be able to do it, but you are doing it. So appreciate that thing as well. Always appreciate your efforts, appreciate your father and mother parents efforts, that they have put that confidence in you, they have put that faith in you. So just be honest. And motivation is not something you should be concerned of. We have enough food in our plate, you have our syllabus, we have our test, we have our preparations. There is no part for motivation to play. It is your journey, it is your life. just always give yourself a deadline, because the moment you give yourself a deadline, you will do it. Because I don't know how many you have written the paper. Even if I give you 10 years to complete, you still won't be able to complete that thing. But I give you 1 year, you have to keep yourself, you will do it in 1 year. So that's why sometimes pressure is also needed, and these exams bring that pressure, patience, and perseverance. So just be believe in yourself, and just today's, I guess, today's 11th, from 12th morning you should get up at 8 and go and study. That's all.
Oh, that's really a great way to sum up the entire session. I again thank you so much for your time, Gaurav. It's been a pleasure hosting you over here, and I am sure that the people who are listening to us and who would listen to us, listen to this particular thing later, would definitely get a lot of practical tips to crack this particular examination. So yeah, congratulations and all the best to your future journey. I'm sure we are going to meet again soon. So yeah, till then, thank you so much for joining us, Gaurav. Thanks a lot.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Abhinav.